How do we become a people? How do we become a society where selflessness is second nature? You all have instinct. Every single one of you in here has instinct. But after instinct comes choice. You only have two choices. It's that simple. You run towards something, you're all in, or you run the other way. Like any good story, it begins in a very far away place. This place for me is Nebraska. Is anyone in here from Nebraska? No one? There's no one in here from Nebraska.
You know, last year here on Boylston Street, so many people showed strength and courage. Among them, a doctor who rushed in to help, did not hesitate, and who remains committed on making a difference.
I do think it's so important to highlight what you and so many others did, which is running toward this blast to try to do what you could to help.
Picture the most beautiful day in your life. Crystal blue skies, perfect weather, surrounded by kindred spirits. The ultimate high. That was how April 15th started. Now there's a very famous phrase in Boston. Right on Hereford, left on Boylston. Once you've reached this signpost, you have 800 meters left of the Boston Marathon. You're done. Your race is done. You're crossing that finish line. This is where I was when I heard one explosion and then another. I paused for a second and I asked myself, should I run towards this danger? I don't know what's ahead. Should I run towards it? This chaos? Should I stand here and just let it circle around me? Or should I turn and run the other way? And I want to ask you guys this question, the same question I asked myself. This is a very tough question to ask yourself. What would you do? What would you do in life when something challenging happens? Doesn't have to be a bomb. Are you someone who stands there and kind of just lets things circle around you? Are you someone that turns and runs the other way? Or are you someone that's all in? Are you someone that runs towards that which is challenging, which is chaotic? I chose to run towards.
The final stretch of the race, you were exhausted, you heard the blast, and you knew you had to do something.
They tried to stop us, and I leapt over the barricade. Police officers were yelling at me, "Stop, you must stop." And I kept going. I ran down this public alley. It paralleled Boylston Street. That public alley dumped me out at what is now known as bomb scene number 2. Now, I have been in the medical field for 15 years. I've seen trauma, I've seen death, I've seen pain, but I have never seen anything like I saw that day. I went to work as fast as I could, treating the people that I saw, one after another, applying tourniquets, packing groin wounds with dirty towels, and doing CPR. I treated 4 people that day, and 3 of them survived. I feel like in times like this, people come together and move forward, and I know I plan on running the marathon again next year.
I wish I was in good enough shape just to run it.
You could run it.
No, I don't think I could.
You could run it. I believe in you.
We'll see. Maybe I'll try to train.
An interview with the New York Times that night landed Natalie's name and story in the paper, triggering a flood of media interest and weeks of interviews, national appearances, and accolades. For Natalie, the enormity of the tragedy finally hit her when she saw the cover of a local magazine.
The Boston's Best. That was my face. It was that moment when I decided my life was going to change on a completely different trajectory.
Have any of you in this crowd made decisions based on what others thought you could or couldn't do? Somewhere near my 4th year of medical school, towards the end, I decided I wanted to go to Harvard. And so I stroll into my counselor, who needed to write me a letter of recommendation. And I say, I want to go to Harvard. I want to do my training at the best hospital for children in the country. You know what he said to me? People from Nebraska don't go to Harvard. Swear to God, that's what he said. You're not going to get in. Have any of you ever been told that because of where you're from, your geographic location, that you can't accomplish something? Or has anyone ever told you because of your education level or where you were educated that you're not good enough, that you're only good enough to do what someone before you has done? Those thoughts that I call internal chaos, this internal chaos, that can be powerful because that can become friction. You feel this friction in your soul, right? Like you feel this tugging in your soul. And that friction can become fuel. And if you use that fuel to give yourself courage, you will be able to do what people don't think you can. In 2011, I became the first person ever from Nebraska to be accepted into the Harvard training program at Boston Children's Hospital. How do we become people who alleviate suffering, who look to our neighbors and help them, that always run towards? And I have really good news for you guys. It's actually in our genes. We are biologically programmed to be courageous. We are biologically programmed to be altruistic. This guy right here, W.D. Hamilton, he's an English evolutionary scientist, and he mathematically proved that the survival of a species depends on their altruism, on their selflessness, on engaging with the people around them in a manner that lifts everyone up instead of bringing them down. I want to bring it to the 21st century for you guys for just 1 second. There's a neurobiologist whose name is Dr. Grafman. He studied this question. He looked at the brain, and he wanted to see what areas of your brain light up when you do something good. That area right there, that dot is your amygdala. Your amygdala is your reward center. Your brain is wired to reward you. The more you help someone, the more likely you are to be helpful. The more altruistic you are, the more altruistic you will be. The more courageous you are, the more courageous you will be. It's biologic brilliance, and you have it. My challenge to you is ask yourself, what kind of person am I? Am I someone who runs towards? Am I someone who deconstructs the impossible? Am I someone who goes for it even when others say I can't? 2, I want you to recognize how important you are. How important you are in this common cause in which you are here for today, in which you are participating. Recognize your importance, because with that recognition, you have power. And 3rd, and this one you have to do. I will come find you if you don't do it. I want you to go for a run. I want you to go for a run. I don't care if it's 1 mile. I don't care if it's 20 miles. But I want you to go for a run. And after you've gone for that run, I want you to ask yourself those questions again. What kind of person am I? Because I bet your answer will be different. Thank you so much for your time.
Your efforts and the efforts of all those. So thank you. It's really an honor to meet you.
Pleasure.
Yeah.